The spoon stopped, halfway to his mouth, frozen, not because of doubt, because of the voice. Don't eat that. 3 words, spoken by a child who shouldn't be here, barefoot, dirt on his face, standing in a room full of people who cost more than he'll ever see. Security was already moving, but the boy didn't run. He just stared at the bowl, like he'd seen it before, like he knew something no one else could. "It'll kill you," he whispered. The room laughed, but the billionaire didn't, because something in that kid's eyes wasn't guessing. How does a homeless child know what 70 millionaires missed? If this story touched something in you, I'd be so grateful if you subscribed. It really means the world to know you're here. And if you feel like sharing, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from or what moment hit you hardest. I love hearing from you. Thank you for being here. The spoon stopped. Halfway to his mouth, Marcus Hale froze. Not because of doubt, because of the voice. Don't eat that. 3 words. Spoken from across the room. Spoken by a child who shouldn't be here. The ballroom went silent. 70 people in tailored suits and evening gowns turned. The symphony fundraiser, the $500 plates, the mayor 3 tables over, all of it paused. Marcus looked up. A boy stood near the kitchen doors. Maybe 10 years old. Barefoot. Dirt streaked across his cheek. His clothes hung loose, 2 sizes too big. Security was already moving. "Don't eat it," the boy said again. Louder this time. His eyes locked on the soup bowl in front of Marcus. Someone laughed, then another. Marcus set the spoon down slowly. Not because he believed the kid, because everyone was watching. "Son," he said, voice calm, controlled. "How did you get in here?" The boy didn't answer. He just stared at the bowl. A woman in pearls whispered to her husband. A waiter shifted uncomfortably near the wall. The security guard reached the boy, hand on his shoulder. "Wait." Marcus raised a hand. The guard stopped. Marcus leaned forward. "Why shouldn't I eat this?" The boy's jaw tightened, his fists clenched at his sides. "Because it'll kill you." The room erupted. Gasps, nervous laughter. Someone muttered about calling the police. The mayor's assistant stood up, phone already out. But Marcus didn't look away from the boy. There was no hesitation in those eyes, no confusion, no fear of being wrong, just certainty. "That's a serious accusation," Marcus said quietly. "I know," the boy whispered. "How do you know?" The boy swallowed hard. His voice cracked when he spoke. "Because I can smell it." More laughter. Someone said the word ridiculous. A camera flashed. This would be on social media in minutes. Marcus glanced down at the soup. Steam still rising. Cream base. Perfectly garnished. Prepared by a chef who'd cooked for presidents. He looked back at the boy. "What's your name?" The boy hesitated. Then, barely audible. "Elijah." Marcus stood. The room quieted again. He walked toward Elijah slowly, footsteps echoing on marble. When he reached him, he knelt down. Eye level. "Elijah," he said, "if you're wrong, you'll be arrested. Do you understand?" Elijah nodded. "And if you're right?" Elijah didn't blink. "Then you won't die tonight." Marcus studied him. The dirt under his nails, the hollow of his cheeks, the way he stood like someone used to, being ignored. Then Marcus turned to the head server. "Test the soup." The server blinked. "Sir? You heard me. Test it. Now." The room exploded into whispers, and Elijah just stood there, staring at the bowl like he'd seen it before, like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. 6 hours earlier. Elijah woke up to the sound of traffic overhead. The underpass was cold. Always cold. Even in summer, the concrete held onto the night like it was afraid to let go. He rolled up his blanket. One thin layer between him and the ground. He'd learned not to complain about it. Complaining changed nothing. His stomach growled. He ignored it. Hunger didn't hurt anymore. Not the way it used to. Now it was just background noise. Like the cars above. Like the pigeons fighting over crumbs near the dumpster. He folded the blanket and tucked it behind a support beam. Someone had stolen his last one. He wasn't going to lose this. The city was waking up. Joggers passed on the trail nearby, headphones in, eyes forward. They never looked under the bridge. People didn't look at things that made them uncomfortable. Elijah knew that now. He stood and stretched. His shoes were falling apart. The sole on the left one flapped when he walked. He'd tried taping it. The tape lasted 2 days. He climbed up to street level. The morning smelled like exhaust and coffee. Food truck was setting up on the corner. The vendor turned his back to load supplies. Elijah's stomach twisted. He started walking the other direction. He'd tried asking once, a month ago, outside a bakery. The owner had called him a thief before he even finished the sentence. Security came. He ran. Asking didn't work, so he learned to watch instead. Watching taught him more than words ever did. He learned which dumpsters got emptied when, which restaurants threw out food that was still good, which alleys had cameras, which ones didn't. He learned to move like he wasn't there. The city spoke if you listened the right way, not with voices, with patterns, rhythms, smells. His father taught him that. Before the fire, before everything disappeared. Elijah stopped at a corner and watched the light change. A woman in a business suit rushed past, coffee in hand. She didn't see him. A man in a truck honked at someone crossing too slow. A bus hissed to a stop. Everyone had somewhere to be. Elijah had nowhere. He walked toward the park. Sometimes people left half-eaten lunches on benches. Sometimes he got lucky. Today wasn't one of those days. He sat under a tree and watched kids play on the swings. A mother pushed her daughter. The girl laughed, high and bright. Elijah used to laugh like that. He looked away. By noon, the hunger was louder. He found a water fountain and drank until his stomach felt full. It was a trick. It would only last an hour. By evening, he was walking again. No destination, just movement. Then the wind shifted, and he smelled it. Butter, garlic, cream, rich food. The kind that didn't come from food trucks or dumpsters. He followed the scent without thinking. It pulled him down a clean street, past cars he'd never sit in, past buildings with doormen, and then he saw it. The ballroom, glowing, warm light spilling onto the sidewalk. He stopped at the bottom of the steps. The smell was stronger now, and, underneath it, something else. Something wrong. His chest tightened. He knew that smell. He'd smelled it before. The night his father died. Elijah was 7 when his father stopped explaining things. Instead, he started teaching. Their apartment was small. 1 bedroom, a kitchen that barely fit 2 people. But when his father cooked, the space felt bigger. "Come here," his father said one evening. Elijah climbed onto the stool beside the stove. His father didn't hand him a spoon, didn't tell him to stir. He just pointed at the pan. "What do you smell?" Elijah leaned in. Onions. What else? He sniffed again. "Garlic?" His father nodded. "Now close your eyes." Elijah did. "Tell me when it changes." They stood there in silence. Elijah listened to the sizzle, felt the heat rising, smelled the sweetness growing. Then, something shifted. "Now," Elijah said. His father smiled. "Good. That's when you know." "No. What?" "When to pay attention." Elijah didn't understand. Not yet. But his father kept teaching. Every night the lessons grew. Milk that's about to spoil smells different than milk that already has. Learn the difference. Bread gets hard from the outside in. Check the inside first. If meat smells like nothing, something's wrong. Fresh meat has a scent. Elijah learned to trust his senses before his eyes. His father never rushed, never lectured. He just placed things in front of Elijah and waited. One night, his father set 2 glasses of water on the table. Which one is safe? Elijah stared at them. They looked identical. I don't know. You do. You just don't trust yourself yet. Elijah picked up the first glass, sniffed. Nothing. He picked up the second, sniffed again. There. Faint. Like metal. This one's bad. His father nodded. Why? It smells like rust? Copper. From old pipes. It won't kill you. But now you know it's there. Elijah set the glass down. Why are you teaching me this? His father crouched down. Eye level. The same way Elijah would one day stand in front of Marcus Hale. Because people lie, his father said quietly. Signs don't. What signs? Everything around you is trying to tell you something. Most people don't listen. They trust what they're told instead of what they see, what they smell, what they feel. His father tapped Elijah's chest. This will always tell you the truth, but only if you train it. Elijah frowned. What if I'm wrong? Then you learn. But if you ignore what you know because someone else says different. His father shook his head. That's how you get hurt. Elijah didn't argue. Over the next 2 years, the lessons continued. His father worked as a line cook, late nights, early mornings, but he always came home and tested Elijah. What's burning? Toast. How do you know? The smell's sharp, not smoky. Good. What's in this? Thyme. Butter. Something bitter. Bay leaf. You're learning. His father never smiled much, but when Elijah got something right, his eyes softened. One night, before everything ended, Elijah asked the question that had been building. Dad, why does this matter so much? His father was quiet for a long time. Then he said the words Elijah would carry forever. Because one day, I won't be here to tell you what's safe. And when that day comes, you'll have to trust yourself more than anyone else. He put his hand on Elijah's shoulder. Smell first. Sight lies. 3 weeks later, the kitchen exploded. Elijah woke up in the hospital. White ceiling. Beeping machines. A nurse writing something on a clipboard. His throat burned. His lungs felt heavy. Where's my dad? The nurse looked up. Her smile was soft. Too soft. Sweetie, let me get the doctor. She left before he could ask again. He already knew. The fire happened 3 nights ago. That's what the doctor told him. Gas leak, they said. The whole building shook. 4 apartments destroyed. His father didn't make it out. Elijah sat in that hospital bed and remembered the smell. Not smoke, not burning wood, something sharper. Chemical. Wrong. He'd smelled it the night before the explosion. Walking home from school. Standing outside their building. It was faint, but it was there. He told his father. His father had paused, sniffed the air, then frowned. I'll call the landlord in the morning. Morning never came. 2 men in suits visited Elijah a week later. They said they were investigators. They asked questions, took notes. Did your father say anything unusual that night? Did he seem worried? Did you notice anything strange? Elijah told them about the smell, the chemical smell, the one that didn't belong. The men exchanged a glance. Son, there was a gas leak, old pipes, it happens. But I smelled it the day before. Sometimes smells linger. No. Elijah's voice cracked. It wasn't gas. It was different. One of the men closed his notebook. We know this is hard, but the investigation is complete. It was an accident, a tragic one. You didn't test for anything else? The man's face softened, the same way the nurse's had. We tested everything we needed to. They left. Case closed. Elijah sat in the foster home they placed him in and stared at the wall. He remembered his father's lessons. Trust what you know, not what you're told. He knew the smell was wrong. He knew it didn't match. But no one believed a 9-year-old kid. At the funeral, 7 people came. Co-workers from the restaurant, a neighbor, a cousin Elijah had met once. The priest talked about peace, about God's plan. Elijah didn't listen. He watched the people instead. Most of them looked sad, tired, present because they had to be, but one man stood in the back, mid-40s, clean suit, hands in his pockets. He didn't look sad. He looked relieved, Elijah noticed, but he didn't know what it meant. Not yet. After the service, the man walked past Elijah without a word, but Elijah caught it. The smell, faint, on his jacket, chemicals, sharp, metallic, the same smell from the night before the fire. Elijah turned to say something, to call out, to ask, but the man was already gone. And no one else was paying attention. Years later, Elijah would learn that his father wasn't just a line cook. He'd worked in kitchens all over the city, high-end places, exclusive events. He'd seen things, heard things, and 2 weeks before he died, he'd threatened to report something about contaminated food, something about a supplier cutting corners, something about people getting sick and no one caring. The landlord told investigators the building had code violations, but the pipes weren't that old, and the explosion happened on the same floor, same unit. No one investigated further. Elijah was just a kid, and the city moved on. But Elijah didn't forget. He carried the smell with him, the one that didn't belong, the one that killed his father, and when he smelled it again, standing outside that glowing ballroom, he knew exactly what it meant. The first foster home lasted 3 months. The Petersons were nice enough. They fed him, gave him a bed, asked about school, but when Elijah tried to tell them about the fire, about what he smelled, about the man at the funeral, Mrs. Peterson's smile tightened. "Sweetheart, you've been through trauma. Sometimes our minds create patterns that aren't there. But I know what I think it's best if we focus on moving forward." Forward meant forgetting. Elijah stopped talking about it. The second home was worse. Mr. Brennan didn't pretend to care. He ran the house like a business. 6 foster kids, 3 bedrooms, tight schedule, no exceptions. Elijah asked if he could visit his father's grave. "Not my job," Mr. Brennan said. "Take it up with your caseworker." His caseworker's name was Linda. She had 14 other cases. She visited once a month, sometimes less. "How are you adjusting?" she'd ask, pen hovering over her checklist. "Fine." "Any problems?" "No." She'd check a box and leave. Elijah learned that honesty didn't help. It just created paperwork. At school, teachers called on him less and less. He sat in the back, turned in assignments, stayed quiet. One day, a guidance counselor pulled him aside. "Elijah, your teachers say you're withdrawn. Is everything okay at home?" He almost laughed. "Home. I'm fine. You can talk to me. That's what I'm here for." I said, "I'm fine." She made a note. He never saw her again. The third placement was with an older woman named Ms. Gwen. She had fostered over 30 kids. She knew the system inside out. She didn't ask Elijah about his feelings. She just made sure he ate. He stayed with her for 8 months, the longest yet. One night he asked her why no one looked into his father's death more carefully. She didn't sugarcoat it. "Because investigations cost money, and your father wasn't important enough to spend it on." The words stung, but they were honest. What if I'm right? What if it wasn't an accident? Ms. Gwen looked at him over her reading glasses. "Then you're a kid with no proof, no resources, and no one willing to listen. I'm sorry, baby. That's just how it is." She wasn't cruel, just truthful, and the truth hurt more than lies. By the time Elijah turned 12, he'd been through 6 homes. Some families tried, some didn't. None of them stayed. He learned the rules. Don't cause problems. Don't ask too many questions. Don't expect anyone to believe you. He stopped going to caseworkers with concerns, stopped telling teachers when things were wrong, stopped hoping anyone would care enough to dig deeper. Silence became safer than honesty, easier than disappointment. At 13, he aged out of the last home. The family was moving, downsizing. They couldn't take him. His caseworker found him a group home, overcrowded, underfunded. Staff stretched thin. He lasted 2 weeks, then he left. No dramatic exit, no goodbye. He just walked out one morning and didn't come back. No one called, no one searched. He was another name on another list in another file that no one had time to read. The system didn't fail him loudly, it failed him quietly. One missed meeting at a time. One unchecked box. One kid who didn't make enough noise to matter. Elijah learned to survive on his own. Under bridges, in alleys, on streets that didn't ask his name. He stopped expecting help. Stopped believing someone would come. But he never stopped trusting what his father taught him. And he never forgot the smell. The one that killed the only person who ever listened. Evening came fast. Elijah had spent the day near the waterfront. A tourist dropped half a sandwich. He ate it in 3 bites. It wasn't enough. It never was. But he'd learned to live with less. The sun was setting when he started walking again. No direction, just movement. Staying still made him a target. He passed through neighborhoods that pretended he didn't exist. Clean sidewalks, trimmed hedges, cars worth more than most people made in a year. He kept his head down. Then the wind shifted, and everything stopped. The smell hit him like a fist. Butter, cream, roasted garlic, rich food. The kind his father used to make for private events. The kind that came from kitchens with rules, with standards. Elijah's stomach twisted, but it wasn't hunger that made him pause. It was the other smell, underneath the butter, beneath the garlic, faint, almost hidden, sharp, metallic, wrong. His chest tightened. He knew that smell. His feet moved before his brain caught up. He followed it down the block, past a parked Mercedes, past a doorman who didn't even glance his way. The smell grew stronger. He turned the corner and saw it. A building, 4 stories, glowing from the inside. Warm light spilling through tall windows. People in suits and dresses moved behind the glass, laughing, talking, holding champagne flutes. The smell poured out every time the door opened. Elijah stopped at the bottom of the stone steps. His heart pounded. He shouldn't be here. He should turn around, walk away, forget it. But the smell wouldn't let him. It pulled at something deep, something he'd buried for years. A memory, standing outside his apartment building, 9 years old, smelling, something that didn't belong. Telling his father promising to call someone in the morning. Morning never came. Elijah's hands shook. He looked up at the glowing windows. Inside, a waiter carried a tray, silver bowls, steam rising, the same smell. Elijah's breath caught. It wasn't just familiar, it was identical. The chemical edge, the metallic undertone. He'd smelled it twice before, once the night before the fire, once on the jacket of the man at his father's funeral, and now, here. His mind raced. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe trauma made him see patterns that didn't exist. That's what Mrs. Peterson said. That's what the caseworker implied. That's what everyone believed. But his father's voice echoed, "Trust what you know, not what you're told." Elijah stepped forward. His shoe hit the first step. A couple walked past him, laughing. They didn't see him. People never did. He climbed another step. The door opened. Music floated out, violins, soft conversation, and that smell, stronger now. Elijah's pulse hammered in his ears. He reached the top step. A security guard stood inside, checking a list, nodding guests through. Elijah stayed in the shadows. He watched the waiters move, watched the trays pass from the kitchen to the tables. Then he saw him, a man in a black suit, mid-50s, gray at the temples, confident smile, sitting at the center table, a bowl of soup in front of him, steam rising. The man lifted his spoon, and Elijah's whole body screamed, "Not him, not again, not like Dad." The door was still open. Elijah didn't think. He ran, past the security guard, into the light, into the room full of people who would never believe him. He ran toward the man with the spoon, and he shouted the only thing that mattered, "Don't eat that food." The room exploded, not with fire, with voices. Who let him in? Someone grab that kid. Is this some kind of stunt? The security guard lunged. Elijah dodged left. His worn shoe caught on the carpet, but he kept moving. Toward the table, toward Marcus Hale, toward the bowl. "Don't eat it!" Elijah shouted again. His voice cracked, raw, desperate. Marcus's spoon froze halfway to his mouth. The mayor stood up. "Marcus, ignore this. Security, please." Elijah stumbled forward. Hands reached for him, but he twisted away. "You can't eat that." A woman gasped. Someone's phone was already recording. The security guard caught Elijah's arm, yanked him back hard. Pain shot through his shoulder. "Let me go." Elijah kicked, struggled. "He'll die, just like my—" His voice broke. Marcus set the spoon down. The guard dragged Elijah backward. "Sir, I'm sorry. I'll remove him immediately." "Wait." The single word cut through the chaos. Everyone stopped. Marcus stood slowly. His eyes never left Elijah. "Let him go." The guard hesitated. "Sir," he broke in. "I said let him go." The grip on Elijah's arm released. Elijah stumbled forward, breathing hard. His whole body shook. Marcus walked toward him. Each step echoed. The room watched in silence. When Marcus reached him, he knelt down, eye level, just like Elijah's father used to do. "Tell me why," Marcus said quietly. Elijah's throat tightened. Words caught, stuck. I can smell it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Smell what?" Marcus asked. "The poison." Elijah's voice barely came out. "In the soup. It's the same smell from—" He stopped, swallowed hard. Marcus studied his face. The dirt, the desperation, the certainty burning in his eyes. "You're sure?" Elijah nodded. Tears stung, but he blinked them back. "If you're wrong," Marcus said slowly, "you understand what happens?" "I know. They'll arrest you, charge you. You'll go to jail." "I know." "Why risk that?" Elijah's jaw trembled, his hands clenched into fists. "Because I didn't stop it last time." The words came out broken, barely a whisper, but everyone heard. Marcus's expression shifted. Something changed behind his eyes. He stood, turned to face the room. "Test the soup." The head server stepped forward. "Mr. Hale, I assure you our kitchen—" "Test it. Now." "Sir, this is highly unusual. Do I need to repeat myself?" The server's face went pale. "No, sir." He snapped his fingers. Two kitchen staff appeared. One took the bowl carefully. The other grabbed a testing kit from behind the bar. The room buzzed with whispers. "This is ridiculous. Who is that kid? Someone call the police." Elijah stood frozen, watching, waiting. His whole life had led to this moment. Every foster home, every caseworker who didn't listen, every night under the bridge wondering if he'd imagined it all. This was it. Proof or prison. Vindication or insanity. The kitchen staffer knelt by the bar, opened the testing kit, dipped a strip into the soup. 10 seconds passed. 20. 30. The staffer's hand started shaking. He looked up at Marcus, then at the bowl, then back at Marcus. "Sir," his voice cracked. "It's positive." Silence. Complete. Absolute. Silence. Then someone screamed. The room erupted into chaos. People pushed back from tables, chairs scraped, glasses shattered. The mayor's security team rushed forward. Phones came out everywhere, but Elijah didn't move. He just stood there, staring at the bowl, at the poison that would have killed Marcus Hale the same way it killed his father, and for the first time in 4 years, someone believed him. But that wasn't how it happened. Rewind 30 seconds. The kitchen staffer dipped the strip into the soup, waited, pulled it out, looked at it, frowned. "It's clean, sir." The room exhaled. Then someone laughed. Then another. Marcus turned to Elijah slowly. The boy stood frozen, face pale, eyes wide. "Son," Marcus said quietly, "are you sure about this?" Elijah's mouth opened, nothing came out. The mayor's assistant stepped forward. "Mr. Hale, this is clearly a disturbed child. We should call—" "No." Elijah's voice came back, shaky. "No, that's wrong. Test it again." "We just did," the server said. "Then test it right." Elijah's hands balled into fists. "It's there. I know it's there." More laughter rippled through the room. A woman in pearls whispered to her husband. A man near the back shook his head. Marcus knelt down again. His voice stayed calm, patient. "Elijah, tell me exactly what you smelled." Elijah swallowed hard. His throat burned. Metal, sharp, like copper, but wrong. "From the soup? From the bowl? The specific bowl?" "Not all of them. Just yours." Marcus glanced at the bowl, then back at Elijah. "Why mine?" "Because the fat separated wrong. The cream split on the left side, but not the right. And when I came in, the heat was uneven. Steam rose faster from your bowl than the others." The room went quieter. "You saw all that from across the room?" someone asked. "I didn't see it. I smelled it." "That's not possible," the server muttered. "It is." Elijah's voice hardened. "My father taught me. Heat changes smell. Bad fat smells different than good fat. Poison doesn't hide. It just blends." Marcus studied him. Long, hard. "What else?" Marcus asked. "The timing," Elijah said. "Your bowl came out last, 2 minutes after the others. That's enough time to add something. And the server who brought it wore gloves. None of the others did." Every head turned toward the kitchen. The head server's face flushed. "That's absurd. We follow strict protocol." "Then test the bowl again," Marcus said, standing now. "But this time, test the residue on the rim, not the soup." Silence. The server hesitated. "Is there a problem?" Marcus asked. "No, sir. It's just... that's not standard procedure." "Do it anyway." The staffer returned to the bowl. This time he scraped the inside rim with a clean swab, dipped it in the solution. Waited. 10 seconds. The color changed. Slow. Then all at once. Dark red. The staffer's hands shook. "Positive." No one laughed this time. Marcus turned back to Elijah, his expression unreadable. "How did you know where to look?" Elijah's voice came out barely above a whisper. "Because that's how they did it before." "Before?" Elijah's jaw tightened, his eyes burned. "When they killed my father." The room didn't erupt this time. It collapsed into silence. Heavy. Absolute. Marcus stared at Elijah, not with pity, not with disbelief, with recognition. "Who's they?" Marcus asked. Elijah shook his head. "I don't know their names, but I know their smell." Marcus straightened, turned to his head of security. "Lock the doors. No one leaves. Call the police. And get me every employee who touched that bowl." The security team moved, but Elijah stayed still, because this wasn't over. Not even close. He'd stopped the poison, but he hadn't stopped the people who made it. The police arrived in 8 minutes. Blue lights flooded the street outside. Officers filled the ballroom. Guests were separated, statements taken. Elijah sat in a chair near the window. A detective knelt beside him, mid-40s, Kind eyes, notebook open. You did good tonight, son. Really good. Elijah didn't respond. Can you tell me your name? Elijah. Last name? He hesitated. Carson. The detective wrote it down. Where are your parents, Elijah? Dead. The pen paused. I'm sorry. Who's your guardian? No one. The detective's expression shifted. He glanced at his partner. Some silent communication passed between them. Okay. We'll sort that out later. Right now, I need you to tell me everything you remember. Elijah told him. The smell, the bowl, the timing. The detective listened, took notes, asked clarifying questions. When Elijah mentioned his father, the detective leaned forward. What happened to your father? Fire. 4 years ago. I'm sorry, was it? They said it was an accident. Elijah's voice went flat, but it smelled the same. The detective exchanged another glance with his partner. Yeah, we'll look into it, he said gently. Elijah had heard that before. Across the room, Marcus spoke with investigators. His lawyer had arrived. So had the mayor. Everyone wanted answers. The kitchen staff were being questioned separately. The head server kept insisting there was a mistake. The sous chef looked terrified, but one person was missing. The waiter who'd served Marcus's bowl. Security found his uniform in the bathroom, folded neatly, name tag removed. He'd walked out the service exit during the chaos. Gone. An officer approached Marcus. Sir, we're running prints on the bowl. We'll have forensics here within the hour. Marcus nodded, but his eyes drifted back to Elijah. The boy sat small in that chair, shoulders hunched, hands clasped. Marcus walked over. The detective stood. Mr. Hale, give us a minute. The detective nodded and stepped away. Marcus sat in the chair beside Elijah. For a moment, neither spoke. You saved my life tonight, Marcus finally said. Elijah stared at his hands. I just didn't want it to happen again. It won't. Because of you. Elijah shook his head slowly. You don't get it. Get what? This wasn't random. Elijah's voice dropped. The poison. The method. It's the same. Marcus leaned forward. The same as what? As my father. As the others. Others? Elijah reached into his jacket. The one 2 sizes too big. From the inside pocket he pulled out a small notebook. Worn. Stained. Held together with rubber bands. He handed it to Marcus. Marcus opened it carefully. Inside, page after page of handwritten notes. Dates. Locations. Names. What is this? Every time I smelled it, Elijah whispered. Every time I caught it in the air, every place it showed up. Marcus flipped through the pages. His face went pale. Restaurants, private events, charity dinners, 12 incidents over 4 years. All high profile, all investigated, all ruled accidents or food poisoning. How did you? I followed the smell. Elijah's hands trembled. After my dad died, I couldn't let it go. Every time I caught it on the street, in alleys, near kitchens, I wrote it down. Marcus stared at the notebook, then at Elijah. Why didn't you show this to someone? Elijah's laugh came out bitter, broken. I tried. Foster parents, caseworkers, teachers, police. He looked up, eyes red. No one listens to homeless kids. Marcus's jaw tightened. He flipped to the last entry. Tonight's date, tonight's location. And below it, one word. Confirmed. Marcus closed the notebook slowly. Elijah, he said quietly, this isn't just about poison. I know. Someone's been doing this for years. I know. And no one stopped them. Elijah met his eyes. Until tonight. Marcus stood, walked to the lead detective, handed him the notebook. You need to see this. The detective opened it. His face changed with every page, and Elijah sat in that chair, finally breathing. Not because he was safe, but because someone finally believed him. 3 weeks later, Elijah sat in a conference room he'd never thought he'd see the inside of. Glass walls, leather chairs, a view of the city that stretched for miles. Marcus sat across from him, the lead detective beside him, and someone else, a federal investigator. They'd followed every entry in the notebook, cross-referenced dates with incidents, compared chemical signatures, tracked financial records. The pattern was undeniable. 12 poisonings, 12 targets, all wealthy, all influential, all people who'd opposed the same development corporation, a corporation that profited when regulations died with the people who fought them. Elijah's father hadn't been random. He'd worked a private event, overheard executives discussing contaminated building materials, threatened to report them. 2 weeks later, his apartment exploded. The man at the funeral? A fixer. Someone paid to make problems disappear, and Elijah had been tracking him for 4 years without knowing his name. Until now. "We've made 6 arrests," the federal investigator said, "including the waiter from that night. He's cooperating, gave us names, financial trails, everything." Marcus leaned forward. "And the corporation? Shut down. Executives indicted. It's over." Elijah sat still. He should feel something. Relief, victory, but all he felt was tired. "What about the others?" Elijah asked quietly. "Others?" "The people who died before I figured it out." The room went quiet. The detective spoke first. "Their cases are being reopened. Families notified. It won't bring them back. But they'll know the truth." Elijah nodded slowly. Marcus pushed a folder across the table. "There's something else." Elijah opened it. Legal documents. Pages of them. "I've arranged for housing," Marcus said. "A trust fund for education. Whatever you need." Elijah stared at the papers. His hands didn't move. "Why?" "Because you saved my life." "That's not why." Marcus smiled, sad, knowing. "You're right. It's because you saw what no one else did, because you didn't stop looking when everyone told you to." He paused. "Because the world needs people who pay attention." Elijah closed the folder, pushed it back. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity, it's a job." Elijah looked up. Marcus leaned back. "I run 4 companies. I eat at 100 different events a year. I meet with people who make decisions that affect thousands of lives." He met Elijah's eyes. "I need someone who can smell the truth before I taste it." Elijah's throat tightened. "You want me to?" "I want you to keep doing what you've been doing. But this time with resources. With backup. With people who'll actually listen." For the first time in 4 years, Elijah felt something crack inside him. Not breaking. Opening. "What if I'm wrong sometimes?" "Then we'll learn together." Elijah looked out the window, at the city that had ignored him, the streets that had raised him. He thought about his father, about the lessons taught in that tiny kitchen. Trust what you know, not what you're told. Smell first, sight lies. "Okay," Elijah whispered. Marcus smiled, extended his hand. Elijah shook it. 6 months later, the story broke worldwide. The Invisible Witness. The boy who stopped a killer. News outlets ran it for weeks. Documentaries followed. A foundation was started in his father's name. But Elijah didn't do interviews. He didn't need fame. He just needed people to understand one thing. The invisible are only invisible because no one's looking. And when someone finally shouts, when someone barefoot and broken runs into a room they don't belong in, when someone risks everything to tell you the truth, will you listen? Or will you look away? Because somewhere tonight, another child knows something adults have missed. Another voice is being ignored. Another truth is being buried. The question isn't whether they'll speak, it's whether you'll stop long enough to hear them. When someone invisible tells you to stop, Will you?